Well, hi there. This is Nancy Reynolds, Stampin' with Nutsy, and I want to welcome you to Woohoo Weekend. I had something come up this afternoon, and so I moved ahead of Tracy instead of being behind her, so I hope that's okay with everybody. I'm just going to get everything up on my laptop. I'm not sure I'll be able to tell who is commenting without having the comments in the video. There I am. I'll pin that to featured. Make sure there's no sound on my laptop. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put you down to my desktop. I should have done that first. Sorry. There we are. This is, I want to show you what I'm using. I am using the distressed gold paper. I really, really like that paper. Some patterns from the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper in the suite. I'm using Cajun Craze and Mossy Meadow cardstock, and also the Shimmer White cardstock. I did the embossing last night, I think, or night before, but this is what I used. I used our little embossing kit. I used Versamark, the black embossing powder, and the kit, which I really love that we have an embossing buddy again. I like the reverse tweezers. Brush is great for getting the tray all cleaned up, and the tray. So I use those. And I use the Stamparatus because one of the things I really wanted to make sure was that I had the stamp well inked and I got a really good coverage. So I stamped it twice and put it down, and then I cut it out using the dies from the set. These are the dies I used from the bundle Hello Harvest. The Hello Harvest stamps and the Rustic pumpkin dies. And then I needed a circle. So I grabbed my layering circles, pulled out one of those and used it. And those are pretty much my supplies. You saw my post. Oh, look, another supply. This is like a really important supply. Hershey nuggets. So we'll just put those up there out of the way for a moment. I showed, and I'm going to keep this piece of our template out. This is our box, and we're going to make 2 of them. I have already created one with the mechanism, and that's what I'm calling this, is the mechanism that makes the whole box work. Let me show you what it does. When you take your belly band off and you open it this way, you have, oh, mine slipped. You have candy on one side, and you open it the other way, and candy on the other side, plus papers. Now, this was my first trial, and I will say that I didn't listen well enough because the suggestion was to use the scoreboard because you get a perfect score that way on every side. I did not use the scoreboard. And so this box does not hold 4 pieces of candy. It's very sad. Obviously, the more chocolate, the better. This piece does hold 4 pieces. So what I want to do is start by walking through and making the second box. So let me grab my scoreboard. I want to tell you that I was watching Glenda Mollett in her group in my craft room, and she inspired me to make this. And she was inspired by France Martin, Frenchy Stamps. So now I hope I inspire you to make it. So I have my paper. It is, let's go over the dimensions, 5 1/4 inches or 13.3 centimeters, 4 1/2 inches or 11.4 centimeters, and this is a direct conversion. You don't need to worry about different card sizes because we're making a 3D project. So if you like to use inches on your trimmer, great. If you like to use centimeters, that works, but it's going to come out the same size, pretty much. My score marks are at 5/8 inch, which is 0.7, and 1 1/4 inches, which was 3.2 centimeters. I do hope I've got that right. I'll double check that on my notes. And then you just run your scoring tool down the lines. Turn it a quarter turn and do the same thing. And this is why it's so important to have them not even be off just a little bit. I've already done 2 sides, so let's put the scoreboard away. I don't get it out too often. And now let's look at our template. And this is why I have a template, so I can just see it. It makes it easy. I'm going to cut off those 3. And I'm going to make a little bit of a wedge here, a mitered cut. And you want to cut the score line away. So this is a mitered cut. This is a mitered cut because we're making tabs. And these tabs are going to glue down. And I am going to use my Tombow because I want a little wiggle room. Now let's see, this one cuts off. I like the snips as it was brought out in one of the posts. They really are sharp, clear to the edge, clear to the end. So you can do this little snip thing and have it pull off. So there's one. And a little mitering and cutting. Hi, Lori. Thanks for watching. Let's see. I messed that one up a little bit. One of the reasons we're doing the miter is because we are going to fold this inside, and you don't need anything extra on those edges. Well, I definitely don't need anything extra on those edges because I want them to fold down flat. And then this one will cut straight and put in the miter. And over on the other side, we need to be under the light for this. I didn't miter that one. There it is. Cutting away the score line. Mitering. So this is kind of boring, but I wanted you to see how it was done. Straight up and a little miter on that one. And I didn't do a good miter there. That's okay. And the last corner, we'll miter this one in. And cut off that score line. Extra bulk is not good when you're putting together a box. I'll cut right up here. And give. Oh, I cut the wrong one. With tabs, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to one side or the other. It all works. I often do that. I'll get 3 of them in the same direction and 1 off. And it's going to be hidden. Okay, here we go. Get rid of this. And take your score, your bone folder, and you're going to start folding. Oh, wrong side. And this tab's going in. This tab's going this direction. Get your little creases done. Remember, when I did it, it almost stayed together without the glue. And I think we've had boxes from Stampin' Up like this that have stayed together. They've just folded. But we are going to glue because we do not want anything to fall apart. So if we stop and think about it, this is going to go like this. That goes in, this goes over. So I'm going to put a little Tombow on the inside of these tabs, line it up and hold it to make sure I've got a good corner. And you will want to hold it a little bit because otherwise it won't stick. There we are. I think that will be good. And this one, right there. And on the outside of these, although one folds the other direction, got a little carried away with the glue there. Just wipe it off, it will dry. And this one, corner number 4. That one slipped. But it's still nice and tacky. That's why I like Tombow glue. It gives you a little bit of time to make adjustments. I'm just going to bend these back a little bit because the glue goes on the part that folds down on the inside. And again, you will need to hold it for just a moment. Matter of fact, sometimes I take my bone folder and I give it a little burnish to help it adhere. And then on the insides of these sides, and we've almost got our box done. And then I want to talk to you about what I call the mechanism that makes it all work. There. Then we're going to use one thing before we talk about the mechanism. We need to put our boxes together, the short end to end, because then you'll be able to see. And I am a big fan of the double stick tape with 3D projects because the tear and tape, and I know it tears. I don't like those rough edges. So I tend to, I'll burnish that down. Take off the paper and put them together. And this, it doesn't take as long. Now here's our mechanism. It is 4 5/8 inches by 2 3/4 inches, or 11.7 centimeters by 7 centimeters, scored at 5/8 of an inch and 2 inches, which means each of these two sides are 2 inches. So what I did was I scored one side here, and then I turned it over and I scored the from the other end, so I'd get that 2 inches. So it's 2, 4, and 5/8. That is important. That is one of the things I messed up on this box. And then you need to visualize. This is going to be glued into the box. So if this one is glued on this side, this one's glued on this side. Here we are. This is what attaches to our cover. So I went ahead and I cut the 3 pieces of DSP. I used 2 different patterns. They're 2 5 inch by 1 7/8 inch, or 6.65 centimeters by 4.7 centimeters. And I cut those and I looked at them and I held them together and I glued them on, because it's easier to glue them on now than when you've got the box together. So all I need to do to make this work is glue this side in. And I am going to do just a little miter, because it felt like it was just a little bit tight in there. So a little miter. You could use your tearing tape for this. I guess I used like the Tombow because it gives me just a bit of wiggle room. So that one's there, this one's here. Let's just go ahead and get that in. Isn't that fun? Looks about right. That's wrong. Because this is the part that's supposed to be glued. Let's take that out. The good news is it's not going to really show. Well, this will show. Sadly, I'm sorry. I'm going to take my embossing buddy because I don't want that to be sticky. And the embossing buddy will de-stickify it. Yes, that's better. Okay, let's try that again. We will put some more Tombow on, and we will adhere it the correct direction. I worked so hard on figuring out what was what. I really should have marked it. Okay, so there's our box and our mechanism all put together. Put that over there. Let's grab, this is the easy part. I have got a top and a bottom that we need to glue on, which is Mossy Meadows, our first layer. Cajun Craze is our second layer. Mossy Meadow, Cajun Craze, and our Designer Series paper. Cajun Craze, Designer Series paper. So that's 5 7/8 by 2 1/4 inches, or 14.9 centimeters by 5.7 centimeters. Layer number 2 is a little bit smaller. I've got a very narrow margin. It's 5 3/4 inches by 2 1/8 inches, or 14.6 by 5.4 centimeters. And the Designer Series paper is 5 5/8 inch by 2 inches, or 14.3 by 5 centimeters. I had a lot of fun doing metric conversion the other night when I was working on this. It's not what I do best. And because I'm using Tombow for everything else, and it's handy, it's going to work for these also. There's one. And 2. Then you have to decide which one you want to be the top and which one you want to be the bottom. See, decisions. Thank you, Terry. I pretty much did an interesting project. I thought, wow, I couldn't have chosen something easy. No, I had to get inspired by something that was a little more difficult, but it's really fun. And I had to go to the store and buy Hershey nuggets because, I couldn't make it without them. So now I have Hershey nuggets to munch on, which is why I only brought in 4, because I can't talk and munch at the same time. Let's see. They look about the same to me, but I think this has got a little more yellow and brightness to it. So I think that's going to be the top. So that'll go on the top. This will go on the bottom. And all it takes is, again, a little Tombow. Line it up. That looks good. Give it a little pressure. And this one is not as hard to put on as you might think. Again, I'm going to just eyeball it, line it up together, and put a little bit of pressure on it. This one needs to slide just a hair this way. There we are. So when you open your box, you've got, this will have candy. You open it the other way. Now Glenda called it a magic box. I'm calling it a dual open box. What shall we do next? Let's get the temptation away from me. I have 4 1 inch by 3 inch, or 2.5 centimeters by 7.6 centimeters. And I have some glue dots. I think the boxes are easier to work with when they're filled. So I'm going to, one of the things you can do to make it go around just a little easier is you can just run your bone folder and give it a little dimension. And I want 2 of each color, or a design. Yeah, sticky. I got that glue dot on my fingers. So here's my Hershey nugget, wrapped around, and then I'm bringing that glue dot just up. One glue dot is holding it. There's one. And this one And you could use 2 glue dots if you wanted to. Nope, no, no. Don't glue it to the candy. Glue it to the other piece of paper, the other end of the paper. And the last one. Then all we have left to do is our belly band. And I wanted to show you a trick on the belly band, because the one thing you really need to do is make sure that the belly band is not, oh, I did that wrong. Good grief. I can't talk and wrap at the same time. Let me put these in. There we are. Our belly band is 6 3/4 inches by 2 inches, or 17.1 centimeters by 5 centimeters, and we are almost done. We are close. If you just take and wrap it around and kind of give it a little scrunch, then you can reinforce those folds. Make sure it's straight, because you do want the sides to match. This one would have been really off. There we are. Doesn't matter which way it wraps, but I think I'm going to wrap it this way. So tear and tape, there it is, goes on this side, because this will be the underneath side, or at the edge, and then this one we'll get it on this side at the edge. So it'll be well secured. And I didn't leave a lot of room, but I left a little bit of room because I'm going to do a little adjusting. You really do not want your belly band to be tight, because if it's tight, then someone will, trying to get it off, will probably feel like they need to tear it. And you just put a lot of work into this. So I take it, and then I'm taking this, and then I'm going to back it down just a little bit. Let's see. This would be too tight, so just inch it down, give it a little bit of room, and that should slide nicely. For decoration, I kept it really simple. I took, I don't know what I did with my seal. I'm sure it's somewhere. There it is. I just did this one flap right here in the middle. And this is that gorgeous distressed gold. The other thing I did with the distressed gold is I cut out 2 little curly cues from around the edges. My pumpkin goes next. I did a really quick color on it. I took my Mossy Meadow Dark and I just colored that in. You can add dimension if you want to, or depth by using the different colors. I did not this time. I did add a little dimension to the pumpkin with the dark Cajun Craze. And pumpkin pie would have been nice to do this with too, even though it's not in in the designer series paper, but my pumpkin pie markers need to be replaced. They've been well loved, and it's time for them to retire. Like me. By the way, I highly recommend retirement. It's a good thing. And I'm doing a better job of it this year. I've worked much less for the school district as a sub. So there's our dark. And I think I'm going to go up the side. And now I'm going to take the light Cajun Craze and just kind of go over it. Blend it in. Did I tell you that this is where I used the shimmery white paper? I like the shimmery white paper. I'm hurrying because I know I'm taking a long time today. But that's why the tip video was so short. Just a picture so you have the dimensions if you want them. I will put them in the description also. Let's see. I wasn't looking at comments. I will get back to comments when the video's done. Oh, you want to be careful. You don't want to go too far over with your dimensionals because everything needs to stay kind of centered in the middle. So here we are. When I was doing this one, I took my color lifter and I tried to give it a little more depth. And then I realized that most of it's covered up by the sentiment. So I decided to skip that step. So here we are. I flat taped my sentiment across the pumpkin. And then I thought curlicues would be great. Now, I would highly suggest that you use your adhesive sheets for this. I do have adhesive sheets, and I didn't think about it until after I had cut them. So I'm just going to have them curlicue down from my pumpkin stem. I was not as careful with that side, but it will dry clear. It will also stick to my finger. Let's see if I can get that off. Okay, curlicues are there. I decided it needed a little bit something more. So I got out the satin edged ribbon, the vanilla and cream, or cream, vanilla and gold. And I put a glue dot on one side. I V'd it up. Let's do a little more of a... Well, I'm just not doing well with the trimming there. But you got the idea. I put a glue dot on the other side, on the back, and I tucked it under the pumpkin. And this isn't going in an envelope or anything, so it can hang over. No one says it can't. There we are. And I'll get another piece, probably close to the same size. And do this on the other side. And there's a lot of shimmer on here, so I didn't feel the need for a wink of Stella. Well, I saw the need for it, but I didn't think it would do any good. So I decided to, let's do that this way. That's why we have tools, to make life easier for us. So I took the rhinestone gems because it needed just a little something more. And I used my dark Cajun Craze and I colored 3 rhinestones. And it really does dry quickly. And I just did 1, 2, I lost a rhinestone on the other one. Isn't that strange? And we'll put this one up here. So we have a little triangle. Has to do with the Fibonacci principle, a little mathematical, scientific principle. I can't spell it, but at least I know the word. And there we are. Our project is done. We have our dual opening box, front and back, which will make a great gift for our friends, because I know there are a few people out there who don't like chocolate, but most of my friends like chocolate. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the box, and if there's anything that you found that you wanted to purchase, I think it's in the mini catalog. I think some of it might be on sale. I didn't check the list to see what was available. But get with your demonstrator who invited you, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and happy crafting.